Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today talking about Conor McGregor and WWE, the ongoing wrestling storyline that will not die. People love to bring up Conor McGregor when it comes to WWE wrestling news, like Conor is actually going to quit UFC to come wrestle for WWE. Honestly, I think there is a very good chance that Conor McGregor might show up for a WrestleMania appearance, whether that's to be sort of a Mike Tyson outside special enforcer, with him doing what Buster Douglas did, or him doing what Mike Tyson did, jumping in the ring and delivering a quick jab and knocking somebody out. Obviously, when it comes to Conor McGregor getting into a WWE ring, people might notice that Conor McGregor is only a featherweight, and he's not as big as you think. I mean, when you see pictures of Conor McGregor in normal, real life, you sort of get this sort of feeling of like, wow. I mean, like you watch this guy and how intimidating he is in UFC inside of the octagon, and then you see him and you're like, son of a bitch. I know he can kick my ass. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying nothing, but he just, you put him in there with Roman Reigns, or you put him in there with the Big Show, or somebody like that, he's going to look like, basically what Big Show made Floyd Mayweather look like. He's just going to tower over him to the point of you can't even do a face-to-face with these guys. Conor is one hell of a fighter. Conor is one hell of a marketing guy. He can push himself like there is no tomorrow. He basically made himself a star in UFC. Almost everything that he has is from him running his mouth. When he was a lower level fighter, he got pushed up the UFC ranks, I think at least a year, maybe even 2 years faster than most guys would. He went from barely entering UFC to getting main events on UFC on Fox shows, to basically pushing them to put him in main event fights to make big money, because he was promising huge results once he got there. And once he did, he lived up to it. It took him in that fight against Diaz, which you can blame that maybe he didn't take it as seriously as he should. Maybe he was training for one guy and then the fight got changed to another and he had to train his fighting technique. But nobody puts over the fact that the guy who wasn't even training to fight at the time got himself in shape, got himself ready, and beat the shit out of Conor McGregor. That's really not going to happen to Conor McGregor, honestly, all that often. I know that UFC changes, just as fast because of the way that, people get older and people change. I mean, Ronda Rousey looked like she was, the baddest motherfucker on earth in the last two fights against Nunes and Holly Holm. She looks like she doesn't even deserve to be there, or that she doesn't even want to be there. Let's stop talking about UFC and let's switch gears about Conor McGregor coming to WWE. Let's just get right off the bat. Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey also, will never be full-time wrestlers for WWE. No matter how much Conor McGregor complains about the money that he makes from UFC as a fighter, he will honestly never get that money from Vince McMahon to be a full-time wrestler. No matter how big of a name he is, he's not going to get it. I don't even know if he's going to get Brock money when he wants to come over. I think if he wants to make a one-time WrestleMania appearance, he can cash in. I mean, they sold us a false bag of goods. Basically, Floyd Mayweather wanted the world to think that he got paid $20 million by the WWE to do WrestleMania 24. There's no way in the world that they paid him that much money. They could lie and tell us, but that's not what he made. There's no way. Conor can make a lot of money coming and doing a fight, or doing the, just being there. He could cash that check, and you can honestly say that UFC owes WWE a favor. Basically, Vince McMahon loaned out Brock Lesnar for the night for UFC to have a fight at UFC 200 against Mark Hunt. And, Brock got caught cheating is the easiest way to say it. He has a 1-year suspension, which I think dates back to his last fight, to where basically if the 4th of July show or the show after the 4th of July. With the calendar thing, if it ended up being one day later than it was last year, he could find it at that show, which is their WrestleMania. That 4th of July weekend show for UFC is the show that they care more about anything else. They have other shows which are big, which are like Super Bowl weekend and the last fight of the year, and ones that pop up along the way because of the way the stars align and big fights happen. But it's known that Fight Week is going to be the WrestleMania for UFC, and nothing's going to be bigger than that. Conor loves to complain about how much money he makes, and it cost him a big payday at UFC 200, or basically they couldn't come together on the money that he was going to make, so he retired on Twitter. And I think that UFC took that as he didn't want to play ball, he wasn't being a company man, and they couldn't look like idiots with the upcoming sale of the company happening. The sale of the company happened, I think, right after Fight Week, right after UFC 200 happened, and the company sold for a lot of money, and they needed to make sure they looked like they could control the fighters, so the upcoming people that were buying the company wouldn't think that they're buying a WCW where the inmates are running the asylum. And he ended up having to fight, I think, at 204, and he made that show into a big show because of who Conor McGregor is, and that's what he would do for WWE. But he's not going to quit UFC to become a boxer like when he got his boxing license in California. If he can put together that fight and it could happen, I think he could find a way to step away from UFC for a minute, but he'll always go back running to UFC because that's where the money is, and that's where he's going to make more money than anything else. He can pick up a fight here or there along the way. You could always say, what if he beats Floyd Mayweather in this boxing match? What if that is a possibility because of Floyd's size? What about Floyd's age? This, that, or the other. He could get lucky and just knock the guy out. But one way or another, win, lose, or draw on that fight, him going to WWE and doing WrestleMania, he's always going to fight at least twice, maybe even 3 times a year for UFC, and that's a big payday for him. So we'll see what goes down with that, and cheers to everybody. Hopefully I can stay awake through Wrestle Kingdom, and hopefully you guys too. Peace out, everybody.